for joining us again. Another episode. Matty, you're back on deck this week.
It's been too long.
Good to have you back on.
Thanks for having me.
This week's episode, a late 70s action, I think you'd say a classic. 1979's The Warriors. But before we get to that, we'll do a quick whip round. As far as what we've been watching, I have only one thing. I watched the last episode of Seduction, which is the documentary on Stan about Nexium.
Yep.
Look, we talked about it last episode, Jared, about just how nasty a lot of that stuff was, the whole branding situation. It kind of builds to the comeuppance, if you know what I mean. Look, all round, it's difficult to watch. It was very, very scary sort of stuff. But I think I kind of said to you, Jared, I just don't see what anyone sees in this bloke.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, he was fucking 5 foot of just mediocrity. Well, it's the truth. You look at him, you just think, what did he have on these people?
But you could see in those videos, he just talked people into circles.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see him at one point. You see him when he's talking to Alison Mack for one of the first times. And it's not a bad segue because I watched a couple more episodes of The Vow. I've nearly finished that before I move on to Seduction as well. But yeah, there's videos of him talking to her for the first time. And by the time he finishes, she's just like looking at him. But instead of going, what are you talking about? She's just kind of entranced.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. I would like to think if someone like that talked to me, I'd just say to him, look, mate, I don't have the brain capacity to fucking follow you. I'm done. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, it just, but these people were looking, like he just babbled nonsense to her about art and she just fucking took it, hook, line and sinker.
Yeah. I understand what it ended up being is they had collateral, they called it. Sex tapes and...
It took a while to get there, though, for some people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they stayed and went through the programs and paid and everything, and the whole time he was running the scheme until they were in a place where they were basically fucked, you know?
As I said to you, mate, we're fucking running out of dough.
I couldn't keep up.
Shit, $2,000 a pop.
Yeah, I'd say I'd love to come back for another session. Oh, it's $2,000. Oh shit. Okay, I might have to leave it here for now.
You got like a $200 version. Short, sharp. You know, you tell me I'm an arsehole, you paddle my ass, and you send me home. There's one bit in this introduction that I found highly amusing, and it was one of the earlier episodes, but it was Catherine Oxenberg's mother.
Yep.
And she's like, I went along to one of these sessions. You know, I was sort of asked to go along and da-da-da-da. And she goes, it was that Nancy Solzman was doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's just like, everyone in the room's nodding their head and saying, this woman's just a genius. And I was like, she's a bloody idiot. I was like, yep, you hit the nail on the head.
Yep.
Like, I never went back.
Yeah. Good
but
call
look,
there.
It was pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, well, the scary thing is the scale of it. That many people get involved and essentially hand over all their dosh to stay in this program.
Yeah. And you said something about how you heard that things are looked at, people are looked at in a different light in The Vow as opposed to in Seduction.
Yeah.
And that could be a nice counterpoint to be able to watch both of them.
Yeah, well, the couple of people that helped get India Oxenberg out, like one of them's Sarah Edmondson and the other one is Mark Vicente or whatever.
Yeah.
And they kind of start The Vow at the point that those guys left. They sort of talk about their journey going through it and how Vicente kind of recruited Edmondson and then she turned into a huge recruiter for the program as well and opened their own bloody site. But then apparently, and you would probably know better than this, in Seduction, because it's coming from the other angle, they actually kind of go into a few of their warts a little more and how many people they actually did recruit and how sort of they don't show them in as a positive a light, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not the worst light, but certainly Vicenti's name is mentioned repeatedly in the early going.
Yeah.
Being someone who was important, I guess, in the scheme of it.
Yeah, it's classic Doco stuff, because the vow comes from his angle and Sarah Edmondson's angle, they come across as very apologetic.
We were hoodwinked.
Yeah, talking about how they were
kind of
hoodwinked. And Mark Vicente even says things now like, I still think some of the stuff that he was saying was genius.
Nah.
But what he was doing to people was not. So,
the guy was a fucking bullshit artist, mate.
Yeah.
From a long line of bullshit artists. And the fact that it was a cult built on a pyramid scheme and he pulled this kind of shit in the past.
I think, as we said I think there was a bit of everything. There was pyramids, Ponzi's, all sorts of shit was going on there.
The guy had one of those fucking, skim 2 cents off each dollar scams that, the Wolf of Wall Street had going.
Yeah, he'd go out and sell a couple of bridges at lunchtime. Like, he just had everything going.
Yeah, and look, coming back to what we said previously in other episodes, you sort of you get frustrated initially because you're like, how do these people get caught up in this? People with money and privilege and you would think a little bit more sense. But the fact is that's not really the case. Like, they're looking to belong. They want something in their lives. And along comes fucking bullshit McGee. Tells you, buddy, the sky is falling or fucking we're going to run this, we're going to have this utopia. And they go for it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the monorail guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
He's not far off.
Look, the only other thing I've watched is I have pretty much smashed through all the extras on the first 6 Friday the 13th Blu-rays.
Yep.
I'm not going to go into it because I think we will go into this deeply on a podcast of our own with hopefully with Brandon in tow. But some of it I'd seen previously on the From Crystal Lake to Manhattan DVDs, and then some of it was fresh.
Yep.
Some of it was good, like there was some interesting stuff on there. Some of it was a little bit kind of like, we've seen all this before. So, but there's plenty of it, which I think is a good thing, and I think it sort of showcases the fact that, this is kind of the ultimate box you'll get.
Yeah, well, I think, agreed. I'd seen a couple of them too, and a few of them were, of scant sort of interest. But as you said, I think they were going for the approach of let's put everything we can get our hands on into it, and so you don't have to buy it again until 5 years down the track when they fucking dust it off and add another couple of features, and we'll drop another 400 at them.
Yeah, when some other prick gives us a commentary. Just something to do.
Yeah. I don't want to upset you, Adam, but I've never seen a Friday the 13th.
This is becoming a fucking regular thing.
I know of it.
I haven't seen fucking Lethal Weapon. I hadn't seen Halloween. I hadn't seen Die Hard. Fuck, what have you been doing?
Well, luckily for you, Matty, if you pick yourself up a laser Blu-ray player, we can remedy that very quickly.
It is on.
Yeah, get yourself a laser, mate. $25. Best $25 you'll spend.
Yeah, I've got to spend less time watching Paw Patrol and more time.
Yeah.
All right, so you haven't seen the Friday the 13th series. You haven't seen fucking Halloween. You haven't seen any of the classics. Let's just find out, what have you seen? And if you mention some fucking shit about bloody old women dating young men or some shit like that, I am going to be extremely upset.
No dating reality shows this time around. It's a pretty thin list, but I went back to Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I hadn't seen that. I saw like it had been like 10 or 15 years or something since it had been made. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good rewatch. What's his name? Is that Michael Cera? He's so funny. He's so good. It's got some weird vibe about it. It's the one where he's
is that an Edgar Wright film?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Really?
No, neither have I.
I've got it on Blu-ray and I haven't watched it.
Worth a look.
Yeah, I've got to check it out.
It's really good fun.
I'll dig it out of the cupboard and check it out.
It's really good fun. He's got a girlfriend and he's got to defeat the 7 X's. So it's like it's really good fun. I like it. I watched the Queen's Gambit with my wife. That was actually really good.
Very good.
Yeah. It's quality. Who would have thought that chess, the world of chess, would have so much intrigue? Yeah,
exactly.
So I started watching
checkers, of course.
Yeah.
A show about checkers would probably be a little more invigorating.
Yeah, short, sharp.
I started Moonbase 8, which is like a space comedy show. It's the John C. Reilly and Tim Heidecker, and it's got like Travis Kelce, who's like the Gronk equivalent, I guess, from the. If it is probably a name that you guys would be familiar with, but he just like starred in one episode.
It's on Stan, isn't it?
It's on Stan, yeah. It's pretty good. It's okay. It's not nothing too special, nothing new, but I really like those guys. John C. Reilly's working the camera. He's really good.
Yeah,
he can do anything.
I love him.
Yeah, I watched that doco, My Octopus Teacher.
Oh yeah,
heard of it, but I've got no idea what it's all about.
It's basically a guy befriends an octopus. He does like deep water diving, and he becomes friends with the octopus.
If you told me that was if that was a premise for like a horror movie type setup, I would have thought it was much better. But doco, not interested.
There's like they create some suspense. There's like it's getting hunted by sharks and he creates
much better horror movie pitch.
He creates
movie in there.
If it was my giant octopus teacher, I'd be more on board.
It's off brand, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty good.
It's just he gets so attached to the thing. It's incredible. But that was worth a look. And then and just the elections. It's been that's been my horror show.
No shame in that. It's a sign of the times. I watched hours of the US election.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the State of Origin.
Forgot it was on.
I didn't even forget. I was just like, nah, not interested. US elections? Fucking oath, get me on that.
Not to talk too much about sport, but quite frankly, having a State of Origin at this time of year doesn't work.
It's fair enough.
Because I forgot that it was on as well.
The passion for it's definitely lost interest.
Oh yeah, I lost interest back in the 90s.
I'd watched. I think I burnt myself out because I'd watched one or two games all year. Finals came around. I watched 3 or 4 games then, and I was footied out. It was enough. That was enough.
You got a quota.
Yeah.
It's similar to the quota you've got of classic films that you watch every year.
All right.
I've watched 1 to 2.
It's been a while.
1 to 2 classics. I'll leave it there.
I've told you, I'm just gonna stick to Highlander repetitively.
Yeah. Fair call.
Yeah. So that's everything, Matty?
Yeah, that's my list.
Just to sort of readjust what I said before, I bagged you. I laid the slipper into you about shows about older ladies dating younger men.
Here we go. It's coming out.
I'm going to come clean and say I watched some Hoarders recently. I should also be ashamed of myself.
Yeah, this is what's great about this, getting together with you blokes. It's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous for people to watch shit TV shows and I'm coming clean. You watch that, well, I've got something to admit to that I'm
dirty
not proud
secret.
of.
Yeah, my name's Adam. I watch shit.
Man, those hoarders are hilarious. Some of them, what they get up to.
Oh yeah. There was one in particular that was absolutely. I'm not joking.
It's the guy that stored his own urine.
Dry reaching during.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, because it had she had cats everywhere and they were just shitting all over the place and the whole joint was just fuck.
Isn't it? It's funny when they find an animal that has got lost.
Yeah, well they found 15. Christ. Oh, I feel ill just thinking about it.
God.
Oh.
Here I am trying to get the rat out of my roof, and this guy's collecting them.
Yeah.
Well, So
just
that
put
tells you the
just
best
put a
way
stack
to
of
kill these.
newspapers up there and it'll fall over.
The best way to kill get rid of a vermin problem is to just basically hoard upstairs and hope that you crush them all. Okay, so we'll get off you. Jared, what did you go for?
Yeah, very limited for me. Obviously, I jumped on a couple of the Friday features as well. For some reason, I kicked off Halloween Town on Disney. I don't know why, but I turned it on and I ended up, finishing numbers 1 and 2 and thinking, why am I still watching this? But the one that took most of my time is I finished the first season of Warrior, which is I highly recommend. I'm absolutely loving it at the moment. The martial arts action is really, really good stuff.
Is it on Netflix?
No, it's on Foxtel for us. But the second season is just being screened. I'm pretty sure it's finished quite some time ago in the States, but the second season is sort of dropping. I think it's about halfway through, and I've just got to the start of that. But yeah, very, very happy with it. Joe Taslim got to show off some more of his form towards the end of season 1, which was good to see. So yeah, really, I would recommend checking that one out if you got any interest in that sort of stuff. And that was everything for me.
All right. Okay, well, let's take a break. Here's the trailer to 1979's The Warriors.
These are the armies of the night.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The Furies. The Boppers. The Hi-Hats. The Lizzies. The Turnbull ACs. The Gramercy Riffs.
Riffs!
And these are the Warriors.
We know about the Warriors. They're a heavy outfit.
They're from Coney Island.
Warriors? You guys are the big dudes, huh?
Now they're in the Bronx.
We're going back.
27 miles behind enemy lines.
It's the only choice we got.
Between them and safety stand 20,000 cops and 100,000 sworn enemies.
I want them all. I want all the warriors.
They've got one way out. They've got one chance. They've got one night. The Warriors.
The Warriors from 1979, directed by Walter Hill, who directed 48 Hours. It's produced by Walter Hill and Lawrence Gordon, who produced Predator, and Joel Silver is actually listed as an associate producer. It's written by Walter Hill and David Shaber, who wrote Nighthawks, and it's based on the novel by Sol Uric. It stars Michael Beck as Swan, James Raymar as Ajax, Dorsey Wright as Cleon, and David Patrick Kelly as Luther. The budget was $4 million. The box office was $22.5 million worldwide. Robert De Niro was asked to play Cowboy, but passed on it. And the film trucks were protected by a real gang called the Mongrels for $500 a day.
Bargain.
Yes. Similar to when you hire the Hells Angels to run security at your open-air gig like the Stones did.
Yeah.
That's always going to work out well. Jared, this was your pick. What's your take on the Warriors, mate?
Well, I got to give Matty some credit too. He wanted to check it out, but it certainly is one of my favourites. I am probably going to be a little bit too glowing on this one because I do like it a lot. I went through this phase. I didn't see it till I was about 18, I reckon, maybe a bit younger. But I saw it pretty late. But just went through this phase where I just absolutely loved it. Watched it quite regularly. Obviously, the game came out too, which was, I mean, it's one of my favourite video games ever. On top of being one of my favourite films. I've read the book, so I'm pretty well versed in this one. I just love it. It's just such a simple premise, but a good one, and the design of the characters is pretty incredible throughout. You know, you look at it these days, and there's issues with, you know, some fairly sort of some dialogue that doesn't quite cut it in parts, but then other parts of it are just iconic. A couple of lines here and there are just iconic, and I'll go a bit deeper into it, but I'm going to go for a 4.
4, solid. Matty, your thoughts?
You introduced me to it, Jad, but yeah, I think in terms of such a simple premise, but it's very creative in the way it keeps you engaged with all the different gangs and just them getting picked off one by one. I really enjoy it. I've got no problems giving it a 4 either.
Yeah, I will join you on 4. Simple, effective. The action scenes are okay. Look, it's not what you'd call super kinetic, but the way that they kind of bring that world to life, all the gangs, you know what? Reminds me very much of a lot of those computer games that were going around in the 80s and 90s, like your Final Fights and your you know, those sorts of things, where you're kind of working through a group up to a sort of a boss man, and they're all different. And it's kind of almost like set that template a little bit to how that sort of stuff came about. Yeah. But on the whole, it's very much a classic. I'm with you, Jared. There's a little bit of dialogue that's, I mean, you know, think about time frame and when it was made. I can kind of see where it was in there, but it doesn't really add a lot. But other than that, it's a real strong film.
Yeah, it hits up some themes like the just like kids with too much time on their hands and how they can just fall into these traps, and there's some class stuff in there. So it's really good, and just like,
the book
fills in the gaps.
The book is heavy on, like, the book is very, very different, but that's what it's all about essentially. But yeah, it's kind of like the movie takes that, just sprinkles a tiny bit of it in there, but then just throws out this stuff that just looks great. Like, all the designs of the gang, it makes it all simple too, like, you know who's who. Yeah. It kind of defines the people, and you kind of look at them and you kind of get a sense of how they're going to fight, what they're going to do. Like, yeah, it's really cool. The world building stuff is awesome, and I think that's why the video game was part of the reason why that was so damn good, is because they took all of that and stretched it out and essentially made a prequel and all these side stories and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty impressive bit of work.
Yeah, especially for its budget and its age.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a long, long time ago now. And yeah, $4 million even back then, I wouldn't have called it highly budgeted.
Yeah.
So it's pretty well done under those circumstances.
I've got a strange question for you to kick it off, though, Adam. If they can do that, if they can show that much of New York for $4 million, why the fuck couldn't we get Jason in there for more than 10 minutes?
Agreed. That's a fair question. How can we have? And they seem to have had a pretty good run of New York there.
Yeah.
You know, like there's quite a bit of open space stuff where they're out there. What the fuck was going on?
Yeah, I wish I knew New York at all, so I could like understand what was actually going, where they were going, and what was coming up, what they had to get through.
And I think they do a little bit of like reusing stations and things like that. But even then, it's not super noticeable. It seems like they are working their way through. So yeah.
10 years later, there was probably a bigger populace, and you just couldn't. And wasn't Jason Takes Manhattan? Their key stuff was in like Times Square and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, shit. Surely you can jump on a subway station for something with Jason. Get Jason on a subway platform doing something there. It's a little bit cheaper. You can work with that, can't you?
Yeah, agreed. Not a lot of effort put in by the Friday the 13th franchise.
No.
Kicking off with the likes, just a plot. It's simple. A street gang needs to make its way across the city avoiding repercussions from the rest of the gangs on the street. It's real simple. You know, you don't get any more simple than that as far as plot devices go.
It's great because it's all the temptations along the way that can screw it up if you're trying to survive.
And they kind of throw a fair bit of that in, which I really like. Plus, you throw in the cops. The cops are on their hammer too.
Yep.
You know, so there's this kind of like, there's a lot of forces after them, and you're trying to kind of make your way across town. So I really think that, I mean, it's a simple premise, but it works really, really effectively.
Yeah, and the kicker is that they don't know the guys are after them for a reason.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're on their turf. Later in the piece, they get the sense of why people are after them. But prior to that, it adds this kind of hubris to their behaviour sometimes. Instead of just saying, fuck, we're in some shit here and we've got to act differently, they just say, no, we're not going to drop colours and all that sort of shit. Like they just continue on with it, which kind of works out pretty well.
Yeah. You know, one of my favourite pieces of the whole film is the use of the DJ.
Yeah, great.
To kind of spread the word that the Warriors have, done something. And we're out after them and all that sort of stuff. They use the DJ about 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
To almost like kind of set the scene and put the spotlight on them and say, well, there's a target on your back.
Yeah. You couldn't do that anymore, could you?
Yeah, it's a really effective way of doing it.
Yeah, no. I put the message out on radio. No one heard it because we were all listening to podcasts.
Exactly.
But the very first
would
one
have to be spammed these days.
Yeah. It'd have to go out on Facebook, Instagram. You'd have to send out an automated text.
Create a TikTok.
The TikTok dance.
The opening one where Nowhere to Run, she cranks Nowhere to Run, and over the top of it you get all the groups rolling out and kind of looking like they're ready to go. That was a great scene.
Yeah, fantastic. I also kind of love the opening credits about how we get
the conversation that's going on.
We get a conversation going on, but we also get a little bit of the city. We see the Wonder Wheel and we see the train platform and everything. And then we're introduced to the Warriors and we get a sense of what's going on with, Cyrus and the truce and all that sort of stuff.
You love a panorama shot, Adam.
I love it. I love it. And they use it very effectively here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, again, thinking about budgetary restraints and constraints and the stuff you had to work with back then, they do a lot of really nice shooting in that particular period. We meet the other street gangs in that period.
They establish all the status in that conversation as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They work out, who's in charge. You finish that conversation, you understand they're going to the meeting, you understand that there's other gangs and you get this sense of the world, as you said, the different gangs and how they look. You know who's who in the Warriors. You don't really know their names, but you get a sense of who's the boss. You also get a sense of the personalities. Like you get a little bits and pieces that, okay, Ajax a little bit fiery.
He's a hornbag.
It sets it all out really quickly. As you said, Adam, chopping in some of the city, some of the setting, some of the other gangs, like just really good stuff.
Yeah, Ajax is a sex pest.
He goes out in the right way.
Yeah.
He does go out the right way. That's true.
But he's like, if I'm running the Warriors, I'm calling meetings. Like we're cutting this bloke out. We're all changing to another gang. We're gonna get another set of vests. And we're gonna be called something else. And he's not allowed to have
one. Called
the Oh man! Did you also notice when he gets beaten down by the cop? It's the busboy from Friday the 13th.
I didn't notice that, Jared. Sore point.
I was going to say, I was asking Adam because obviously you missed it. Oh man!
The great thing about that is it segues into that whole sequence of Cyrus getting everyone together.
Yep.
And the whole thing where he's talking about, 60,000 people There's 20,000 police. Yeah, we could run the place, basically.
Yeah.
And the whole "can you dig it" sort of mantra that he keeps sort of putting out. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. The Karasama, Adam. The charisma of the bloke just wins everyone over. But it treads the line. It treads this line between super cheesy and ludicrous, while also you see why they're kind of wrapped up in the guy when he starts yelling out the "can you dig it?" You're there going, "Yeah, I can dig it."
The third "can you dig it" had me up out of my seat. Can you dig it? Yes, I can dig it.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
apparently they were
because we paid $2,000 for a session.
yeah. I'll sign up for 5. Apparently, like that, all the extras there were actual gang members. Apparently,
they were loving
it. The money, and they were loving it. Apparently, they were right on board.
Were they?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, Walter Hill. Come on, mate. I'll rate you this, mate. You've got bloody gang members in there.
Yeah, seeing all the gang members mixed up in that scene too, obviously ends up as one of the great sort of movie posters, that sort of drawn poster of the Warriors.
Yes.
Where they're all sort of standing next to each other, and then you've got the other gangs in the background. Also ripped off by the greatest wrestling video cover in history, Royal Rumble 91. So it's got a lasting legacy there.
Ultimate Warrior would have fit in very easily into this world.
It would have had a cracking gang.
Could you imagine him taking the mic off Cyrus and talking about how he came from parts unknown?
Yeah, talking about something about taking the plane down. I'm going to take your plane down, Hulk Hogan.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this guy's lost us. We're going back to Coney.
Yeah. What's the name of his gang? So we can avoid them.
Oh, dear.
The other good thing about that sequence is that we get Cyrus's death at the hands of David Patrick Kelly. But I love that shot of the gun trading hands.
Yeah.
Down the line.
Yeah, that was cool.
Until it gets to David Patrick Kelly. It's fucking awesome. It's a really, really great shot.
Yep. And David Patrick Kelly, I mean, everything about him is just spot on for this role. Like the way he looks, his face looks like it's been stretched, like elongated into this evil kind of. I don't know. He just sort of.
He looks like a leprechaun.
Looking at my notes, though, I obviously he really rung a bell for me because I've written him down as Michael Patrick.
Yeah, a noted thespian, Michael Patrick Kelly, doing some great work. But yeah, he's going.
He is. I mean,
good. He's kind of like the Joker. Like he takes that vibe of he just does things because he wants to. Like rolled up in this one of cinema's greatest cases of little man syndrome.
he's the smallest man in the gang by 3 feet.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's got all of the power, seemingly.
Yeah. I mean,
and he has no moral compass at all.
No. And I
love that bit where he just charges at one of the Warriors and gets hoiked over his shoulder.
Yeah. But he casually causes Cleon's early demise. But then I think I was more angry at him when he yelled at the girl at the store. It's just like, you got to pay for that? And he's like, for what? And starts throwing shit. I'm like, Jesus, settle down, mate. Cool off.
Yeah, fucking pay for it. Just do it.
Yeah. When you look at it, he's in the movie for such a short amount of time and essentially kicks things off with the Warriors but then doesn't see them again until the end and has no real reason for doing it. But those handful of times he's in there, he's just great. He's so good. Like,
exactly.
I'm having a good time. And kind of like, yeah, he's just mental.
Unhinged, nailed it.
Yep.
I also love that sort of sets everything in motion and the Warriors are on the run. And they hoof it down to the train station with one of the gangs fair up their ass. And they make the train station, and it's almost like you breathe a sigh of relief, you know, they made it. And then the subway's been burnt out and they have to stop. They have to get off early.
Yep.
And again it starts the chase again. So I really like that, as they they do a little bit of bait and switch. They make out like they've just, when they get to the train station, they're going to be fine. And then we have to stop. We have to get out again. And we're back on the move. And I think that they do it a couple of times, and I think it works out very well.
Yeah, they do. They do a pretty decent job. I mean, essentially, from a story standpoint, they just string a handful of obstacles together, mostly in the form of a gang of some sort. But it just seems to work.
I like each obstacle. Each obstacle is different.
Yeah,
and it's them like sort of sticking together or fucking it up and getting caught.
Yeah.
That saves them. The orphans is my favourite.
The simplicity of all of it.
The
orphans is my favourite scene by far. I love it.
It's not my favourite, but I do love the leader who he's just getting trodden on by everyone.
Yeah. He's sitting there, he's got a good look to him too. He's got the weird eye, and everybody's been at this meeting. There's like people jumping out of the clown car at that meeting. There's like
there's everyone's
like 70,000 people, and he doesn't even know it's on.
Not me.
And he's like, everyone's like questioning what he's doing, and then he's like, "All right, you can go, whatever." And then the girl comes out and just ruins everything.
Essentially, just says, "You cat," or whatever.
Pussy,
Next thing you know, he's kind of firing up, and
now I gotta take your coats, and your vests are mine. And like,
that's where
he uses the Molotov cocktail, doesn't he?
Yeah. And the classic lines come out like that. That part where the orphans, they go, but then the orphans come running back, and they start that you see what you get, warriors, all that sort of shit, and we're gonna rain on you, and start firing up. It's just all that language, all the stuff they're talking, just generally works in most of the scenes.
And it's even good to show the warriors, like, are we just gonna bust our way through here, or are we gonna go Pete? We'll try and talk to him first.
Yeah, and it continues on with Swan's trying to make the right calls to get him through safely. But Ajax is just like, let's punch on. Like, all he wants to do is just belt someone.
I love it.
And you mentioned it earlier on, Matty, the way they kind of slowly cut the group down. Yeah. So one of them gets caught in the train station and falls onto the train tracks. Yeah. With the cop, we basically lose Ajax later.
Yeah. You know why they killed the guy at the train station?
Yeah.
Have you heard this story?
Yeah.
No.
Him and Walter Hill didn't get along.
They didn't get along. He thought he was the star and wanted more lines. Yeah. And he was like, "Nah, we're gonna kill you off. Get fucked."
I think he just he was getting high too. Like he says, he takes all the blame for it now, and essentially says, "I thought I was running the show and I was telling the director what to do, but Walter was saying to me, you're just a fucking actor. You do what we want you to do." And he says now, like, he was right. I was a young pain in the ass, so they essentially called him up and said, "Don't come in."
Because wasn't he meant to be Tony Danza? I think was meant to play the same character.
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, he was supposed to play a role, but he.
So yeah.
So I think he thought he was like he had a comedy career ahead of him, and
the stuntman Adam, one of our favourites, the stunt coordinator, sorry, Craig Baxley. He had to cook up a quick, they found a crew member that looked a bit like him, so they flicked him onto the train track.
That curly hair, that was enough.
The funny thing is, I didn't see the train explode. So
that's right. Yeah, the train should have just caught into a ball of fire. That's what happened beforehand. There was another scene where a train exploded, but they cut that scene, and we just got the aftermath of the burning track and the Warriors having to get off another train. Yeah.
Fucking Baxley. Baxley's blown up the bloody train tracks for us, the idiot. But
they whittle down.
They whittle the crew down.
Yeah, Tidbit is
in numerous different ways.
I was just going to say, sorry, Adam, Baxley is actually one of the punks too. I think he shows up. He's one of the punks in the blue in the bathroom.
Oh, really? Because if I remember correctly, he used to sport a fairly decent white mullet back in,
Yeah, I was looking
back
for
in
it.
'87 when he was second unit for Predator.
Yeah,
he
he obviously
had a white mullet on.
this was before he really started to cut loose and get out there and start. This was pre-peacocking Craig Batchelor. He didn't have the white hair at that point.
Forefathers. Pre.
Oh dear. Yeah, but I just love the way they just chip away at the crew.
Yeah.
They slowly remove players, and we get down to a small handful, And we even break that group in half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
they cut that
Swan-
down later on. Swan heads off and tries to
Swan-
find the others.
Yeah.
You don't know if anyone's going to make it back at that point. It's kind of cool.
One of my favourite sequences is them against the Furies
Yeah, great
in
stuff.
the park. Because it's a nice little
Are they
punch
the-
on.
Are they the baseball?
Baseball,
Yeah, baseball bat guys.
They need to learn how to throw a swing.
Yeah, they do. Classic look though. They spent all that time working on the look. They're like, let's get a classic pinstripe uniform. Do the Kiss face paint. looks great, but you didn't spend any time working on your swing.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you'd think when you load it up with baseball bats, you should really be able to tag this lot.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love that. It's a nice little punch on. I love the fact that they kind of swan and that slip into the shadows and then kind of double back on them. Basically outflanking them kind of thing. It just kind of showcases that the Warriors, there's a bit of cunning there, but there's also, they can kick some ass when they have to.
Yeah.
Because most of the time so far, they've run. To stay away from the gangs, they've run.
Yeah.
And so this is the first time there's a bit of hand-to-hand combat, and they kind of win it substantially. They really kick these guys' asses. So I thought that was a really cool sequence.
I kind of like how they're always talking themselves up. We're a pretty good gang. They're like the best. They're like constantly talking themselves up. Sort of like, this is our world, and we're the best fighters, we're the best lovers, and it cracks me up.
Yeah, not lacking in confidence.
Yeah.
I had to give James Remar a like on this one. I know Gibbo will be coming after me, but he actually, a young James Remar actually makes a perfect fucking petulant asshole that's bringing things down from the inside.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a pain in
He is
the ass
actually
from the
very
get-go. Like, you could just see that attitude just kind of would wear you down. And
They're just like, but he can fight.
yeah.
That's the reason they keep him around.
They kind of, that's why they keep him around, kind of thing. He's got his good qualities, but they're almost overshadowed by
He's got
his
his good
stupidity.
qualities. He likes to fight.
His good qualities, sorry. But yeah, he is actually quite good. This was pre getting sacked from being Hicks.
Yes, correct.
Because he was sacked from Aliens because he had some, I believe he had
some drug
a
issues.
substance abuse problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
But yeah, he is good here. And I think he ended up being in 48 hours after this. Like, his next role was 48 hours, so...
I think Walter Hill took a few of them, didn't he? Was it David?
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael Patrick Kelly was also in 48 hours.
Yeah, David's less talented brother.
Looks just like him, but not as good an actor.
That sequence too with the Furies has the line of, I'll take that baseball bat and shove it up your ass and turn you into a popsicle, which is a personal favourite.
Yeah, good one.
That's a visual right there.
Arnie should have used that one at some point. You should have used that as Mr. Freeze. That would have fit perfectly.
If only he'd had said that in Batman and Robin.
Oh, dear.
And it's around this time that they lose Ajax to the police thing. Only Ajax could get... Only a fucking sex pest like Ajax could get caught out on such a... Let's face it, a ludicrous sting.
I mean, it's a very minimal
Honey
sort
trap.
of... It's a very minimal honey trap, isn't it? She's not really... I mean, she looks at him and kind of smiles, and that's all it takes.
Speaks to the character of the man.
Yeah, it does actually. You're spot on there. That's all it should have taken.
Doesn't he look over at one point before she even sees him and says something about how he'd like to go over there and let her know you shouldn't be hanging around these parts at night or something like that? I think that's what he says.
Yeah, he does.
Ugh.
And then they say, "Listen, we've got to go," and he just goes, "Oh, I'm staying here."
Righto, ball back.
That's how easy it is.
Yeah. As soon as the other two say we've got to go back and get him, I would have just said, "Fuck him." He's just he's that's been coming for a long time.
Yeah, he shits the bed. He's gonna lie in it now.
That's right.
He's the kind of hood that doesn't get lost to the streets, gets lost to the sheets.
Yeah. Well, he's hoping to.
Everyone would be relieved. They're like, at least he's not going to pick up my sister or my girlfriend.
Yeah, keep him away. Yeah. When we go down for the meeting, can we leave him there so he doesn't find his way back to the Coney Island for a couple of days?
Yeah, you know what was going on after he ran off. The rest of them were arguing amongst themselves as to who managed to invite him after we'd done so much clandestine work to cut him out.
Yeah, that's
Somehow
right.
got him there.
How did he find out? Fuck.
I like the way they end up using the train tunnel. Rather than getting on the train, they use the train tunnel to sort of make a little bit of inroads into their getting across town. But it also kind of sets to the fact that they're kind of taking some chances now, like they're increasingly desperate to get off the street because people are coming out of the woodwork left and right, and yet then they keep cutting back to Cyrus's crew.
Yeah, the riffs. The riffs are great.
Going back to them to kind of build this feeling that they're going to be the final gang to face.
Yeah.
This falls a little bit into my dislikes, and I'll get to it. But I just love the fact that they kind of start using other means and trying to stay off the radar until those idiots get in with the bloody Lizzies.
The Lizzies. Look,
that was more a dead tutty trap.
Let me tell you, they're lucky Ajax was with the other group that didn't run into the Lizzies.
They would have got away quicker. He would have banged all of them.
He would have tried. He would have tried his best. Yeah, but it's just you mentioned the riffs briefly. They were another like on. I mean, there's not really a gang that I look at and say, they really messed that one up. But most of the gangs are pretty great. Like I love the kind of the Malcolm X / martial arts sort of angle that the riffs go for, and I dig the way they keep shooting Masai. Just like the camera's just looking at his face. But because he's got the sunglasses on, it's kind of like, he's not looking at the camera or whatever. He's just kind of sitting there, and then people lean in to talk to him. I don't know why. I just really dig that.
Important.
Yeah. It just kind of makes that, he's not moving. Everyone's got to come. The world kind of comes to him. Like it's really cool.
Have you guys got a favorite gang?
Yeah, the Boppers.
Which one are they?
The Boppers are the blokes that rock up with them. In terms of the look, you only see them for about 2 minutes, but it's in the opening where everyone's going to the meeting. They're the ones with like the purple silk vests with the hats on and everything. Yeah, definitely the Boppers.
You can't fight dressed like that.
I know. I'd be trying
like a pirate.
I'd be trying to get into the
Those guys
Boppers.
are breakdance fighters, though.
Yeah, look, I put it this way. My journey would be, I'm trying my best to get into the Boppers, but I just don't have the style, the moves to get into the Boppers, and I end up with the Orphans. That's my story. I just catch on with the Orphans.
I'm a Furies guy.
Yeah, the Furies are cool. In terms of the ones that actually show up and get a bit of time, I dig the Furies. The Turnbull ACs, I mean, they had a bit of something, but
they're the skinheads.
They're the ones in the bus.
Yeah. That's good. So I like that they've got the skinheads, but then they've got like both white and black guys that are skinheads. Yeah. I love that.
And the other thing about them is because they don't get out of the bus, you don't know whether it's a gang or whether it's just a rough night on the Moonlight bus or something. It looked like it's a bus. There was people hanging out the roof and stuff. I was like, yeah, that looked like a couple of times I was on the Moonlight bus. They were a little bit like that.
The Warriors thought they were being chased, but it was just a Moonlight bus getting a touch rowdy.
Oh shit! Who's your gang?
Yeah,
where do you end up?
Let's be honest.
I just want a pair of roller skates.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got to work your way up. You got to come up with some backstabbing plot in the punks to get rid of that guy, so you can take the skates and lead the crew.
We're gonna workshop our own futuristic gang. I think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna say we got to start dressing alike and start rolling through the Belconnen Mall or something like that. Start small.
That stuff there where Swan cuts off and he's in the subway and everything's really quiet and there's no one around and he stops and he looks around, he's listening, and then he moves off and then you just see the bloke come into the background there on the skates.
Yep.
And then they actually have a few long shots of Swan just walking, oblivious to the fact that there's this guy not that far from him.
Oh, he knows.
Eerie.
He knows.
Really, really well shot. It's eerie as hell because you just don't know if the guy is just going to just basically cold cock him from behind. You know, like, so it really creates a bit of that tension there.
Yeah, he uses good music too.
Yeah,
the music's pretty solid throughout.
Into a blue in the dunny.
It's a nice break from the action.
Mate, Craig Baxley was working overtime in that one. He was choreographing all the stunts of people going through the dunny stalls.
But to me, that's my favourite fight sequence.
Yeah, that one's cool.
It's really well choreographed.
They shot it for like 5 days. They shot for like 5 days in the crapper stalls.
Oh,
that's because Baxley kept blowing up toilets with cherry bombs and stuff. People kept coming up sick.
Oh, cut! Jesus, Craig. I just asked you to punch someone. That's all.
Yeah, choreograph a fight. Don't blow the place up.
Yeah, it's I think that's in terms of the Blues. That's
Christ out of each other.
Yeah, that's the peak because that's the one where they actually get a bit tested. You know, both crews are getting hits on each other, and that's the one where there's kind of a bit of back and forth going on. Unlike, as you mentioned, you know, before the Furies just get absolutely towed up after they do the cardio session, they end up just getting absolutely belted.
I'm still thinking about the gangs. I'm still thinking about how you can be dressed like a complete dickhead and not get laughed at. You'd have to be able to fight. I like the world that they've built just because of that. Yeah.
Actually, if I didn't get into the boppers, I would have probably tried to get into the electric eliminators to get one of those yellow jackets. I did like those yellow jackets.
Electric Boogaloo. That's it. Our basketball team's halfway there.
Yeah. We just need the jackets to go along with it.
My last couple of likes centre around the finale. The whole thing of, you know, Warriors come out to play.
Yeah.
With the beer bottles and everything. That is really, really iconic. And it still has a real creepy vibe the way he does it.
Yep.
And I kind of do like the way the riffs sort of take out Patrick Kelly's crew. It's kind of a little more silent. Like it's not as amped up. You know, they kind of just close in on them.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's
they
good.
swallow them up. And that's kind of it.
Watching it again now, it also brings back fond memories of the game. Where if you hang around long enough in the credits, underneath the credits, the game comes back and you get to take control of the riffs and kick the shit out of the remaining rogues. You just spent 5 minutes punching on with the rest of them and just finishing the job, which was a nice little touch I felt from Rockstar.
And I do like the whole idea of the majority of the film is shot at night. It's dark, you know, they're running through the streets. But we get to Coney Island, the sun has just come up, you know, it's kind of like we survived the night.
Panorama.
Yeah, it's a really nice shot across the beach and everything like that. It's a nice way to kind of a place to get to as a like home base, you know.
Yeah, I also dig when he gets back and you get the shots of the same landmarks like the Wonder Wheel and that, but because it's daylight, the lights are off and everything, and then that's when he sort of looks at it and says, "This is what we fought all night for." Like getting that sense, that this is all just bullshit. You know?
Yeah.
It's the helplessness of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the moment, they're sort of tough and we belong and we're better than everybody else, but then they get back and they're like, "Oh, really?"
Swan's kind of like, "What
this
are we
is
doing?"
Where we're at.
It was kind of a waste of time.
Yeah.
But that's it for me as far as likes go. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think we've covered all of mine. I mean, I could keep talking about gangs if you want to talk about gangs anymore.
Always.
Well, tell us what you have to do to get into the boppers. We'll probably all give it a go.
Well, you know, if you play the Warriors game, you have to steal the hat off the warlord for the boppers. So you got to get into their territory and steal a few hats. That's what you got to do. No, but
that game's on PSN for half price.
Yeah, it's a cracker. I obviously it was PS2 when we first got it. I'm pretty sure I purchased it on PS3 on digital, like the network. I think they had it then, but I've also got it on the PS4, and I had a copy on the PlayStation Portable. Just to tell you how much I love that game and how many times I've played through it. And I'll just having watched it again, I'm thinking, geez, I wouldn't mind going back and having another playthrough of that one.
I wouldn't mind getting Bully either. Not to go far off the track, but
yeah,
I really liked Bully as well.
Yeah, I've got that too, floating around there. I would say do it.
Yeah. Well, I need a few new games now that I've exhausted what I have. All right. So, what about dislikes?
Oh, I got one more like. I like the scene where the people coming from there in the suit and the dresses, the two couples come onto the train.
Yeah.
I love that bit because she reaches up to like fix her hair, and Swan grabs her hand and pulls it down.
Yeah. And
without saying a word, without even turning to look at her, that sort of like establishes a bond. Like, don't be ashamed of who you are.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Don't fucking.
It was brilliant.
You're no worse than anyone else. Like.
Yeah. Don't just because they got on you, and then you see how uncomfortable they get, and then they shuffle off at the next stop.
Yeah.
It's just such a good scene, and it breaks from that gang life of like that they're less immersed in.
Yeah.
And turns it into, there is something else that if only you could crack into it, maybe you wouldn't be caught up in all this rubbish.
I also love the when he picks up the corsage and she's like, what's this for or whatever, and he's like, I just don't like to see something go to waste. And when he was saying that line, I was getting shades of Springsteen, The River, just kind of the situation that they're in and that you want more and all this sort of shit. Like, it was just, it was good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Definitely.
And that's me covered for likes.
Alright, as far as dislikes go, I've got very little.
I've actually got a few. Quite a few. Just some silly ones, probably.
I just wasn't having the use of the word faggot, which seems to come up quite a bit.
Yeah, it's Ajax's
from Ajax.
go-to insult. He says
it hasn't aged
probably
well.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it hasn't aged that well. Again, time frame is everything, and it was a different era.
Yeah.
But it doesn't serve much purpose to the story anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have any purpose. You could have called him an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just
different
a time frame thing, right? Like, it doesn't. That's probably the part of it that's aged the worst.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely aged the worst.
He's like John Bender on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only other one I had was we keep coming back to Cyrus's gang, the riffs, and we build up this kind of feeling that that's kind of what's going to happen near the end. The riffs and the warriors are going to battle it out, even though they don't really know that they've been set up. But it really doesn't come to pass.
No.
It's kind of just brushed aside, and it's like, it's kind of anticlimactic because, to me, you meet the riffs at the end for a drag-out battle.
Yeah, well, it's sort of, I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50 on this because I do agree to an extent that you wanted to see some action from the riffs, but the way that the rogues are kind of waiting for him at Coney also sort of works.
It still works.
So it's sort of, I understand what you're saying there. And it's also, my dislike for that part is that the Warriors don't actually solve the issue of who shot Cyrus. It just happens. Like, the riffs just find out from someone else, and it's just kind of, there's no active kind of work there from the Warriors to work around that. It just kind of comes up in the last 20 minutes, and you think, oh shit, they're going to have to figure that out, and someone else does it.
Yeah. Agreed. It's not clean. Like it doesn't tie up a loose end almost. It does tie the loose end of the fact that we find out that that the rest find out the Warriors didn't do it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do it satisfactorily because the Warriors do nothing to help their own cause other than run through the city and avoid getting killed.
Mm. They're pretty quick to jump on the Warriors as being the bad guys. At the beginning.
Yeah, and my
doesn't take much.
My big question in the meeting is like, you're dealing with large scale numbers. You know, there's some loose fucking units in these gangs. Why did you trust that no one would be packing? Why did you just say, yeah, we'll take them at their word? No one's packing. Pat someone down.
The reason why they picked the Warriors, Matty, the reason why they've jumped on the Warriors is fucking Ajax.
Yeah.
It's fair enough. He's banged someone's girlfriend from every gang in town.
Yeah, there was this asshole. He was just about humping my leg. He was that horny, and he was being an absolute pest. I reckon it was those guys.
They weren't smart enough to just all step aside and leave him standing there by himself.
Yeah.
That would have been over real quick if they had done that.
Yeah. Adam, you mentioned some of Ajax dated language. I was also a bit. I didn't really like. And one of the things I still don't get is for the first half of the movie, actually probably the first 2/3, the relationship between Swan and Mercy is just...
It's ugly.
It's just not there. Like, it's not built on anything. And then, when it actually starts to build, he drops lines like, I don't like the way you live. It's like, well, fuck, okay, mate, you met me 5 minutes ago. Like, what?
They only drop that so that he can apologise later, right?
Yeah. He's just, he spends the whole movie,
He says it right at the beginning. Why don't we put a train on you?
Yeah.
That is tasteless.
Very ordinary stuff about pulling trains and things like that. Ajax, of course, was in amongst that sort of business too.
He was licking his lips.
No he was the conductor.
As if it was half down already.
Yeah.
He was the train conductor, mate. I can tell you. He was the first one in line.
Yeah, I was a bit... I think the relationship, as we said, all the good stuff happens down the stretch, but prior to that, it's just kind of built on not much.
Mm.
Well, it's built on...
He gets respect for it because she steals a coat.
Yeah, that's right. Jesus Christ. Fox dying, obviously we know the reason, but it kind of makes it seem a little bit misplaced.
Mm.
Like it just kind of... In some ways it does actually work because it does sort of throw out there, hey, they actually are in a bit of danger here. But it does kind of... The fact that he wasn't there is very apparent in those end scenes where they're shot at all from the back and whatever.
It's almost like a horror death rather than an action death to some extent.
Yeah,
he just gets sort of grabbed and pulled away.
Yeah, you can see they just had to work something quickly, and that's what it ended up being. Obviously, Matty's already mentioned this, but the Furies, shit, how do you lose that fight when you start with all the bats? They've got none. You run them until they're tired. You take out Cowboy, so you've got one down, and then the rest of them just absolutely get pummeled.
Yeah. You just wonder how this would look today. Everyone would be a mixed martial artist, and it'd be John Wick.
Take the ground.
Speed and...
Yeah,
I kind of like the innocence of it. Of the fights are all like the big haymaker swings blocked and then hitting the guts.
And the guy, there's one part where one guy is striking downwards with his baseball bat, and it's like 4 or 5 times in a row. Swan just holds it out, and they go, and they just keep blocking the same shot again and again until he mixes it up. That was quite funny. I also didn't like. We mentioned the Warriors getting split up. I didn't like that they actually choose to split up. When a couple of them go back for Ajax, I thought,
you could have had a natural element that broke them up.
Yeah, something a little...
Some of them get on the train, some don't. Or...
Yeah, something a little bit different to how it played out. Swan, who'd made pretty solid decisions for the most part, just kind of goes, I'll go and find the others. Well, it's a big city, Swan.
Yeah, that's right.
We know we've got meeting points, but it's still a
big city. And Jason Voorhees is around one corner and Toxic Waste is around another.
Surely it's nearly midnight. The meeting was late. You better not go anywhere near the sewers because it's going to be flooding with toxic waste very shortly. The Lizzies, how do you fuck that up? You had them dead to rights. How do you fuck it up?
Yeah.
They weren't as organised as the cops. Couple of handcuffs.
That's right. You can work something out.
You've already got them naked. They can't do anything.
I mean, Vermin and Cochise were just, they were gone. They were just in there. They were under the charms. Rembrandt was a little bit cautious, but the others they were right in there. So, yeah.
You get that job done if you're Lizzies.
The leader of the punks, I love the skates. But when they get into the fight, how the fuck does he stay on his feet when they're throwing? Because he lands a few, and he cops one in the face.
Does he?
Yeah. He's in there landing a few. He also looks like he also looks like Chucky with a repaint almost.
Blue overalls,
black and yellow sleeves,
black hair.
I do love that. I do love that scene, but yeah, I've always wondered how he managed to stay on his feet as long as he did. And the other thing that got me about this, and I never noticed it, it never kind of came into my mind as a question until this time around. I know they saw Rembrandt's feet, but they're really clutching that their plan's going to work, that the leader of the punks is going to open that door, Rembrandt's going to spray him, and then when they hear the spray, the other 4 or 5 warriors burst out of the fucking stalls at the same time. It looks like they coordinated this very quickly, and it was, they had a lot of faith in that to actually work out. Glad it did.
But going back to the leader of the punks, and you were saying, he gets a few shots in even though he's rolling around on roller skates. Are we sure he gets some shots in, or is he just standing in the corner forward ass over tears?
Yeah. It could have been one of the other punks. He's there going, oh, fuck, get him. I'll be there in a minute when I get my skates off. It's the other one that made me kind of giggle is the hi-hats. The groups that look like the mimes. Are they pulling punches? Are they like in character? Are they pretending to punch people? It seems a strange one to go with. We'll go through the hi-hats territory. We know they're gonna pull punches and take air swings and make it look like they're hitting us.
They'll be stuck in the queue.
Half the gang will be in a box.
Yes.
So,
if we mime a wall, they won't be able to get through.
Yeah. but yeah, my last one is. So I purchased the special editions in 2005 whenever they came out, the DVD in 2005, the director's cut, and I also got the Blu-ray, which is the same thing. And I stupidly flogged off my previous Warriors DVD for a couple of dollars, thinking I don't need that anymore. But the special edition stuff is fucking terrible because they changed the movie. They put these transitions in there that are like comic book transitions. And Walter Hill does an introduction and says, this is the origins of the story. He actually does an introduction that lines up with the Greek Anabasis that it's based on.
It's an extra star for me.
Oh, there you go. If they had a gang of Greek takeaway store owners, you would have been right in there, mate.
Just some Adonises even. I'm happy with whatever.
Adonises. That's a good one. Why did they do that? The
some
Adonises,
robe wearing. They're hiding lightning bolts in their sheets.
Oh, man. But yeah, they do these intros, and he does this intro about that, and then he says, this is also a story of courage, and then we go to the shot of the Wonder Wheel, and I'm like, it just doesn't fit at all. But it also ruins a couple of really good shots, like the intro to the Furies. Instead of them coming out and kind of seeing that as the couple of shots, it goes to like this comic book transition of the faces of a couple of the Warriors and then straight to the Furies. And I was just kind of like, fuck, it just sort of destroyed it. And it's only in there for a handful of times. It's probably only about 10 times or less through the movie that they go with these transitions, but it just doesn't work at all. I feel it's one of the most it's one of those examples of going back to a movie and messing around with it. You should have just left it alone.
Yeah.
But that's obviously, if you're not watching that cut, then you didn't have to worry about that.
Any other dislikes from you guys, Ian?
No, I think anything else you'd be saying is petty, and ruin the spirit of how good a movie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, that is The Warriors. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. We're also on Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Keep an eye on our Facebook page to find out what we're going to do for our next horror film. But until then, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.